Good morning. We are live on Facebook. Perfect. I get Instagram rolling. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PT on Ice, the daily show. My name is Dr. Alexis Morgan. I'm one of two lead faculty with clinical management of the fitness athlete, pregnancy, and postpartum. This morning, before we get rolling, just wanted to let you all know you can hop online to ptonice.com/our courses and look at all of the things that we've got going on. There are so many courses upcoming in the beginning of the year. This is a really good time to ask for an ICE course for Christmas or to gift one to someone that you love. That always is one of our favorites to hear about. That folks got these as a gift, these courses as a gift for birthdays and Christmases. So just a little hint for you out there this morning. Today's topic is 3 non-internal interventions for postpartum moms. And specifically, this topic came to mind I've recently, all of my clients seem to have given birth in the last month. And so we're having a lot of visits that are postpartum. And if you have heard me speak about this before, you know that I'm an advocate for early physical therapy and early PT visits, maybe even prior to their checkup with their doctor, depending on when that is. And fun fact for you all, there really is not a standard 6-week check-in with their physicians. It is, the physician guidelines actually suggest that really that should flex for the patient, depending on how their birth went and depending on what their return to work looks like. All of these things, that next visit with their physician could be anywhere from a week or 2-week follow-up all the way up to somewhere within 12 weeks. And the recommendation is that it doesn't go beyond 12 weeks. Postpartum care is something that we need to be their advocates. Moms are their advocates for their babies. When they come into the office and we're asking how they are, all we hear about how the baby is. We hear about how the baby's sleeping, how the baby's feeding, and baby, 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 baby. And I'm always asking, no, how are you? How are you handling all these changes? Your roles changing. How are you handling the nighttime feedings? What are you feeling? How are you doing? And when we're talking about these postpartum care visits from doctors and then from us, from physical therapists, we really need to be thinking about the whole person. And so that's where this concept of these non-internal interventions comes from. Because when you think about a postpartum visit, you think about an internal exam, right? Going in, seeing how strong are the muscles. Usually they're not very strong. Are you swollen? If it's pretty early, they may still be swollen. Like all of these things we think of in postpartum care as internal interventions. And so we often think, okay, that needs to be pushed way back to allow a healing process to occur. So, what are we doing at these early postpartum visits, these week 3, week 4 visits? Let's just look at an example here. So, let's take a first time mom. By the way, moms who have just delivered their very first baby are oftentimes in a very different space than those who have delivered, even if it's their second, but especially their third or fourth time. First time moms are very overwhelmed. They may have done all the courses and done all the planning. Maybe they were even with you during their pregnancy care. But suddenly now it's here, and they had no idea what that fatigue was going to feel like. They had no idea that they were going to struggle with breastfeeding, to learn how to pump and make sure she has enough milk, and maybe there's difficulty latching, so she's got to have a lactation consultant. The baby, maybe the baby's sleeping decent, but she's got these heavy feelings in her chest of just pure anxiety or depression. And she's not really sure, is it the baby blues? Is it depression? I don't know. I just don't feel like myself. Will I ever feel like myself again? Right? She's got all this stuff going on. She comes into our office. How important is it for us to see on the modified Oxford scale how strong her pelvic floor is when she's dealing with all these other things? How is it really that important to be checking the diastasis on week 4? And what do we know? We know we're going to find some things. And so if we're going to find those things, then we got to figure out how do we present that information that's not going to freak them out and cause some sensitization down the road, right? We've got to be thinking about all these things. But most importantly, what does that person in front of us need? So there's 3 things that they likely will need from you. And maybe this visit is one of the 3, or maybe it's a combination of those. But it's number 1, hearing her birth story. Number 2, planning out an ideal routine. And then number 3, educating on graded exposure back to the things that are important to her. Maybe that's sex, maybe that's exercise, maybe that's work. Education on that graded exposure. So we'll dive into a few of these details on the 3 interventions. So number 1, listen to her birth story. We've talked about this on the podcast before. And if you've been in our online course, you know that week 4 is all about birth stories. They're all drastically different. Everyone's perception of their stories can be drastically different from one another. Even if the foundation is the same in the story, the person experiencing that is going to have a different thought and a different perception around it. And so really diving into not just the logistics of what happened, but how you felt about what happened. There was a recent study that came out that looked at postpartum depression, and as you could probably guess, the rates go up as people perceive their births as traumatic. And so if we can dive into that and screen early and recognize these signs, it can be really valuable. Sometimes when there is trauma on board, and that can be anything from more physical trauma to more emotional trauma to any combination of that, a lot of times just talking through that can be very therapeutic. And of course, you're going to have in your back pocket some people to refer her to if she needs more care than what you can provide from a mental health therapeutic standpoint. But hearing her birth story is one of the best interventions that you can give to a postpartum mom that's early and that has nothing to do with an internal exam and has everything to do with healing. Okay, number 2 is planning an ideal routine. I love this one. So, you take the example of the mom we just talked about. She's got all these struggles, all these challenges, and her partner is about to go back to work, and she is not going back to work just yet. Has another month before she does, but really, she's just concerned about how she's going to get it all done in the day and what that looks like. She wants to go back to exercise. Like she enjoyed exercise all throughout her pregnancy, and now she just doesn't know where to fit it in. So, we get out our whiteboard and we start going through an ideal routine. Okay, so around the time that you wake up, what are you going to do next? Well, we're going to feed, and then we're going to shower, and then we're going to feed ourselves, right? Because eating, a new mom needs to be sure that she's getting enough calories, and that often doesn't happen. So planning out this ideal routine, I recommend not having strict times, but more so routines. So first this happens, then this happens, then the next thing happens, right? And then they can just follow right along. These are really helpful for the type A personalities, and can be just really nice to have that visual and that guide. By no means does the person need to absolutely stick to it, but it provides them that normalcy, that sense of, okay, yes, I know what's coming next. Maybe I thought that was going to come at 9 a.m. and now it's happening at 1 p.m., but I know what's coming next. Planning out that ideal routine for them can help them see what is going on. It can help them see that, okay, yes, I can take some time to eat, or I can go drive to the gym and spend some time there, right? All of using your whiteboard to create this visual process is going to be extremely beneficial for many of your clients. And this is one of those things that not many people will do with the person, and she doesn't have time or the brain power to figure it out for herself. So use this intervention and help a lot of people. All right, before we wrap up, I've got number 3, and that is the graded exposure, the gradual return back to what she wants to do. Maybe she's concerned about return to sex. We talk about that. What does that look like, that gradual exposure? Okay, first it's intimacy, just kissing, no touching. Then it can transition to touching. And then it can transition to your version of sex, whatever that looks like for you and your partner. Even just breaking it down into those 3 phases can be extremely beneficial for the client in front of you. Because she feels like, okay, what I'm feeling right now is swollen, bleeding, in pain, and I just delivered a massive baby. How in the world am I going to go back to the sex that my partner and I once had? You help guide them. You help show them that path, and you show them that bridge from where they are to where they want to be. It's the same thing with exercise. So, wants to get back to CrossFit. When do you want to get back? When are your expectations? Do you want to go back now? Are you not even concerned about that and you want to get back in a couple of months? Where are you? From there, we can talk about, okay, you're wearing your baby. That is a wonderful exercise. You've already started exercise. You're working your core, you're working your shoulders. That is a good exercise. Moving forward, we're then going to do some simple things you can do on the floor, playing with your baby, up to going into the gym, right? We tailor it around for that person. Maybe your person is dying to get back into the gym. And so we talk about the gradual exposure back to pull-ups or back to those GHD sit-ups. We demonstrate those steps all along the way to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And we devise a plan together. There's so much power in that. Oftentimes, we as the PTs, like, we have it in our head. We have the plan. We know how they're going to get from where they are to where they want to be. But going through that process with them can help them see, and it can reduce the anxiety, and they can know, like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I go this step, then that step. So to recap here, the three really great interventions that you can do for your postpartum individuals that are coming into your office early, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe it's 5 or 6, that are non-internal based. These 3 things are: listen to her birth story, help her plan out an ideal routine for her day, and devise a plan that is gradual exposure back to the things that she wants to do. One of the biggest things that we can provide for our clients is that clarity, where they are in that process and that bridge. So do that with your clients. Let me know what you all think of these interventions. Let me know how it goes with your clients. I'd love to hear about it. Have a happy Monday, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.